Hey guys, welcome back. So now jumping back into Justice League Odyssey, which is a team that's more so put together by circumstance, and then Darkseid just popped up like, yo, we together. And with information that they just supposed to believe him on. So first, I'm gonna have a little tag pop up right here, and I want you guys to let me know, do you trust Darkseid? Or is your trust messed up, mainly because of his history and his skewed perception of what is particularly good? Yeah, so let me know that here at the beginning, then by the end, if that's changed, let me know down in the comments. But if you're completely new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so in our last talk about Justice League Odyssey, I did a breakdown about how the events happening here and how they're a very direct result of Dark Knight's Metal, Justice League No Justice, and much of the other madness going on in the DC universe right now. But for everything going on in Justice League Odyssey, it heavily focuses on the section called the Ghost Sector, which is pretty much what you get when you shrink a bunch of planets and then you blow them all up to their regular size at the same time. And with this cluster of planets, you have a number of issues that present themselves as a hazard to this team. Because one, even though it's being contained by the Lanterns, and more specifically Jessica Cruz, it gives you the threat of one, being surrounded in this crazy radioactive storm, which is made by a number of gases and elements which are not supposed to be anywhere near each other in the universe. And this is one of the main reasons why, even though Brainiac's ship keeps them safe inside, it's still difficult for it to travel through, and not to mention navigation being tricky with all these planets just randomly thrown together. But along with that, just a reminder from back in Justice League No Justice, before Callooh was destroyed, one of the planets that was contained there was actually Tamarin, the home world of Starfire, which I'm sure she would recognize when she's seen it, or at least come across something familiar from her world. But aside from that, in this jungle of planets, if you will, there's no guarantee that it's still there. But like we had talked about, when they land in this unfamiliar location, Azrael, Jessica Cruz, Cyborg, and Starfire, when they encounter and discover that they were all drawn there by Darkseid, well, everybody except for Jessica Cruz, because he's like,
you've all been called for a greater purpose. Except for you. Like, I don't even know why you're here. Just talk to the hand.
But in the last video, we had talked about what the message was and how he believes the fate of the multiverse depends on them. And that's the reason why he called them to this location and he met them there. And even though he approached them without hostility, they still engaged, well, because he's Darkseid. But he shows a huge amount of generosity, still trying to get this message across. And that generosity, of course, is by not snapping Azrael's neck, which I believe Azrael appreciated because he didn't try that again. But with this matchup between these four and Darkseid, like, they're not going to beat Darkseid. And the most that they're really doing at this point by fighting him is really just pissing him off. But because he knows that they're not going to actually believe him until they actually see what he's talking about, because of that, Darkseid takes Cyborg and jumps over closer to a location where he could at least show them what he's talking about. And it's here where he shows Cyborg a hidden temple where the trinities of old were worshipped, but the people here were slaughtered in cold blood before the events of Justice League No Justice and the creation of the Ghost Sector. And Darkseid's just showing them this like,
look now, you see, y'all thought I was playing. And so now I know our history might have been a little complicated. I shot Batman, I was killed by the Black Racer, and it is my mother box which gives you life. Well, not necessarily in that order, but my recent death began a transformation which turned me into a baby. Then yet as a baby, I was kidnapped by Batman, and when he disappeared that time, that wasn't on me.
But after showing this hidden temple to Cyborg, he just dips. And the reason why he does, we'll talk about a little bit later. And if you're totally new and you need a little catch up on that Darkseid backstory, I got a link for you down in the description. Darkseid's death and transformations, I got you. But after finding this temple, when the team takes a closer look, they run into a survivor who they can't understand until Jessica translates with her ring. And much like the monuments that are surrounding them, once they understand him, they see that he also is worshipping Starfire. But he also goes on to tell them that he and the rest of his people worship Starfire before the slaughter, before the global catastrophe, and even before the one that they call the demon shrunk them down and trapped them in the glass. And even while they were prisoners of Callooh, they knew they weren't dead, but they also knew that this wasn't exactly life. But at the moment that the Ghost Sector was created, for these people, it was like getting thrown out of the frying pan and into the fire. And the only ones that really survived from these people were the ones who hid in the temples and continued to pray to Starfire. But the remaining survivors' salvation was short-lived when these, quote, angels came to collect a relic that they had never found, bringing an end to his people and leaving him with severe injury. But with his last bit of strength, he takes Starfire and the rest to the relic, which he tells them pre-exists the fourth world, which makes it older than Darkseid. And outside from that, all he really tells them is that it's a key with access to not only our universe. And when Starfire takes a closer look, she notices that there's different languages on it, but she can't exactly determine what they're saying. But shortly after this soul survivor shows her this relic as he passes from his injuries that he received from the ones he called angels. And for him, dying in her arms was the highest honor that he could receive. But also at the time that this happened, Starfire absorbed knowledge from him, to which soon after she was able to read the inscriptions on the relic. And even then she noticed that the inscriptions on the relic spoke of the creation of the Ghost Sector. And then everything just goes haywire. The planet is suddenly unstable, Starfire loses control, but Victor's able to stabilize her using a sonic disruptor just in time for them to get out of there. And with the ship still damaged from their crash landing and still flyable, just not able to launch, Jessica makes the clutch move of creating a construct that's able to handle that. But even with them being able to get off this planet, like just in the nick of time, they're not able to leave the Ghost Sector just yet. Brainiac's ship is damaged, the navigational system is also gone, and Starfire needs immediate medical attention. And so what they end up doing is landing on the nearest planet that has a Coluan signal in hopes, since that's the race of Brainiac's people, that they'll be able to find parts for the ship and some kind of means of medical attention for Starfire. And so when they land here, one of the first things they do is put on some sort of disguise, and at least to the best that they can. And the reason why is because if you guys remember in the previous video, when we had talked about when they initially seen Darkseid had told them that there are people on these different planets that worship each one of them. And once again, everyone except for Jessica Cruz. But with them not knowing where who has what belief, and them already experiencing the people who were slaughtered because they worship Starfire, angels came down and straight up shot everybody, which was their first red flag that some part of what Darkseid was saying was true. But it's for that reason that when they land here, they try to put on some sort of disguise so nobody really recognizes them and they don't really catch no static. But on top of that, when they get here, they split up, with Jessica and Azrael looking for medical supplies and parts for the ship, while Cyborg stays behind with Starfire. And it's funny because you can see a bit of flirtation going on here between Cyborg and Starfire, which has been going on, but also with Azrael towards Jessica. But that's only going one way, because she's like, I got a man back home, and he's like, what your man got to do with me? And not in those exact words, but you kind of catch my drift. But during the time that Victor and Corey are here, he scans her, but he doesn't pick up anything, but still they know that something isn't right. And she's also concerned because when she absorbed that knowledge from the native of that last planet, she tells him that she took more than just his language, and also when this happened, she felt a darkness inside of him. But while they're talking, a local kind of wanders in, telling them that he was just trying to stay warm, but when he sees Starfire in her condition, he tells them that he notices that she's Tamaranian and he can help her. And really, with the two of them not having any other option, they agree to do so. And so now as far as Jessica and Azrael, who find a local who's willing to help them, he takes them back to his base, and oh, he just happens to have a bunch of Coluan slaves, and to which he mentions they enslaved them to punish them for everything that has happened. And because of the Coluans collecting worlds is really what got them all in this mess in the first place. And Jessica and Azrael were like, okay, you're not wrong, but this is not at all right. And that's when they attacked these locals to free these Coluan slaves, who at this point were ready to put them in chains too. And with there being a strange disconnect on this planet, with Cyborg having trouble reaching Jessica and Azrael and not able to just leave with the Wanderer there still working on healing Starfire, for the time being they're out there kind of on their own, which is really not a good thing because Jessica realizes she can't hold her constructs as long as she's usually able to. But fortunately enough, Starfire is well just in time thanks to this mysterious Wanderer, so her and Cyborg rush out there ASAP, helping them to take down these enforcers and free the Coluan slaves. But as it turns out, not far away from where all of this is going down, the Wanderer who healed Starfire is watching, and it's here that we find out that he was Darkseid all along, who had been pulling strings just to get them to work together.
Just as I planned. For Darkseid. For the universe.
But as it turns out, right after they free these people, to whom some are Coluan and some aren't, but it's here that they find this other race that is mixed in, that they worship Cyborg. And to them, it's more than a coincidence that he's here to save them. And they feel like finally, after all this time, their prayers have finally been answered. And of course, with Cyborg responding back like, hey look, you got the wrong guy. There's gotta be a mistake. I'm sure it's some other machine that y'all looking for. Y'all just be free, enjoy your freedom, and we out. But when one of them steps forward and is like, no, it's definitely you. like, your name's Cyborg, right? To which it is, and at that point he's kind of stuck because he's like, man, I ain't finna lie to this guy. But it's then that this man tells him that he must return with him to the machine worlds. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and also let me know, did your opinion on Darkseid change? Like from what you chose in the very beginning up until this point now. And there's still quite a bit we gotta figure out and see, and that opinion may still change later on, but as we move forward, we'll find out. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alright, later.